I absolutely never ever aspire to be a head.
Okay.
Not for a second. You want to be an actress?
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Maybe I would have liked a better work-life
Work-life
balance in
balance.
that sense, but I generally don't think it can be achieved with this job. Since everybody has the right to learn, what does that mean for me? That means I can't shout out or I can't bother the person next to me. For the parents as well, they love it, you know, and the nursery children go home and suddenly when they sneeze, they say, Alhamdulillah. The staff team,
Yep.
fantastic with a capital F. Doesn't matter what kind of head you are, you need a team.
Mm.
You know, you already want to say it's not about money, but money does matter.
Plays a big role.
Does matter. It's a privilege to be involved in it, and that we have the opportunity, because that is more than a job.
Welcome to the Murabiyoon Show, raising awareness of Islamic schools.
What does a busy head teacher have for lunch?
This busy head teacher has a very good deputy head teacher who makes sure I do sit down and have lunch. May Allah bless her. And it's usually fruit, something light.
Okay.
There is not time. It's not like a working lunch, let's say.
Sure.
We have a nibble.
Okay.
And we discuss things. So, and I always come in prepared with some fruit. And,
Okay. So you'll always have that with your deputy? Is that?
I do tend to have it with my deputy head, yes. Or sometimes when I go to the staff room, chill there a little bit.
Yeah.
Have my coffee.
Oh, good.
And then yes, that's what this busy head teacher has for lunch.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm sure a lot of them might have said they have no lunch.
Yeah. Some have said that.
Yes,
Some have said that.
Yes, I'll try to have something.
Interesting enough, one head teacher that previously had told me that he has nothing and he knows who he is. I spoke to him this morning and he said that he's got into a better habit of eating lunch, which
made him reflect.
Alhamdulillah,
on his
alhamdulillah.
practice, alhamdulillah.
So I'm looking forward to actually going and meeting him again. Maybe he'll buy me some lunch.
Okay. There's always hope.
It's always a struggle to go and meet him because knowing that he doesn't have lunch. I'm only kidding, mashallah. He's very generous, alhamdulillah. Okay, alhamdulillah, that's good. I mean, we were just, before we got started, you were just talking about your routine. So what time does your day start?
My time, I'm here, if I'm here at 7, it's late. So let's say I tend to be here a little bit before that if I can.
Okay.
And we have the same routine here every day. We have a morning briefing, so you should get ready for this. So I have it ready in the weekend, and then I just throw in a few extra bits that might have come up through the week. And my day ends around 6 o'clock or a bit later. So that's, I usually open the school in the morning, basically.
Okay.
Come with my keys and open up.
Does headship ever end during the holiday period?
No. And I'd be very surprised if you find somebody who says yes. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because I think the workload is heavy. It's very different from teaching.
Yeah.
The paperwork is very heavy, and you have to make sure that you don't get sucked into it too much.
Sure.
And end up being a head who's just sat in the office on her computer.
Just churning away.
As been in headship for a little while now, so I tend to have more time now, so I'll have a little walk around school.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't stop. I mean, as well, my admin staff, they work in the holidays, and I tend to come in at least a couple of days with them as well.
Okay.
So... But the type of person I am, I'm very organized. I have to have everything ready well in advance. So it makes me more relaxed during the week. If I know I've done some things in the holidays, done something over the weekend, then I'm more chilled during the week. And then if often unexpected things tend to happen, and then I know it's not going to throw everything out because I've already sort of prepared for the main structure of the week.
What do you tend to do to switch off? What's the thing? What's your downtime?
Walk.
Walk, mashallah.
Yes, I like to go for a walk, and I like to read.
Any local walks that you'd recommend, or any books you'd recommend?
Local walks, well, we tend to walk along the river.
Okay.
It's about an hour and a half, and then we sit down somewhere and have a nice cup of coffee, and then we walk back, spend a lot of time with the grandchildren. This is a grandmother you're talking to.
Alhamdulillah. It seems to be a regular theme now in Manchester.
It is, yes. We have a grandma club. I said, and it's getting more and more members. So I have applied for the secretary position, but I'm not sure I'm going to get it. But alhamdulillah, yes. And it's actually interesting. I think at one time was disillusional and thought the parents were getting younger, when in fact I was getting older. So I think we're at this point now where most of the parents in this school are probably the age of my children.
Wow.
So it gives you a different perspective, I think, in many ways. And I like it. I like the way it's become easier.
No, it's good. And I think it's really important that everybody does have something to do to switch off, because the demands of the job are such that I guess you could sit there and your thoughts are just taken over by tomorrow and next week and inset days. And I'm pretty sure this school, like many schools, is on a WhatsApp group.
We do have a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't have an opening time or an ending time.
Well, we do personally. As a head, I won't put a message after a certain time, because if I do that as a head, then maybe people feel obliged to read it or to respond to it or to say something to it. The WhatsApp group obviously came up during the lockdown, during COVID. We didn't have one before. So then it was a very good means of communication. So there's usually more than one WhatsApp. There's an official one, and then there's maybe a teacher's one, and so on and so forth. But I wouldn't put something on there, for example, and say, "Oh, we're going to do this on Monday, the weekend." I'll say well clear, because I don't. It's not fair on the staff, really.
If anybody was going to buy you a gift, what would you want?
Well, I've got 2 gifts here that I've been given.
Oh, mashallah.
One is over there. It's my little espresso cup.
Oh, nice.
Yes. The coffee that went with it. I love children's books.
Oh.
I also love puppets. There's one over there. So yeah, I'm fairly easy to buy gifts for, I think.
What would be the worst gift somebody could buy for you?
Worst gift, some designer item, probably.
Just with a big fat label on it.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so if any of the staff are listening, you know what not to buy the head teacher. I'm sure they already know.
Thank you, you've already bought me the coffee. Hint.
So during lockdown, obviously everybody went into realizing the world of working virtually, technology. So for you, is it Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or Google Meets? Which one's your preference?
Well, have you heard of Class Dojo?
Yep.
Okay, so I have to say, alhamdulillah, we were actually quite well prepared for the very first lockdown, because I think Ireland went into lockdown first. So I said, okay, let's get ready. We're going to be next.
Okay.
So we started actually off straight away, quite proudly, I'm saying this,
alhamdulillah,
with teachers uploading videos on Dojo, their own videos.
Okay.
And children did work on there. And then obviously, as we went on, the demand came from the parents as well to have remote live lessons rather than uploading videos. So in the second part in September, we switched to that, and then we went with Zoom.
Okay, you went with Zoom.
I know our sister schools, they went with Google Classroom.
Okay.
So we went with Zoom. And mashallah, I think the teachers really, mashallah, bless them, honestly, they became really experts in that. And even for year 1, we had live interactive lessons.
Brilliant.
Now the listener won't know that there's a room right next to me, and I would sit here in the office, and the year 1 teacher would be next in the room doing the lesson.
Okay.
And I had to go in to see if she's got any children there. That's how lively it came across.
MashaAllah.
And I think the silver lining of it perhaps was that the parents got a better idea of what actually a teacher does.
Yeah.
And what's in a lesson. We were always joking, said it's not just the parents, it's the grandparents and the aunts and the cousins probably all watching the lesson at home. So I think from that point of view, it worked. We adapted, mashallah, and obviously we still kept some things of it. Like
I think it's important.
The old Zoom meeting, like with SL.
I think it's important to read, to hold on to it and to retain it, because they are useful tools. They're useful communication tools more than anything as well. And I think, we've got to adapt and be innovative and move with the time. So I think it's really important. Alhamdulillah. So let's get to know the head teacher. Mm-hmm. How long have you been in head teachership?
How long have I been the head teacher? The head teacher, this will be my second year as a head. And prior to that, I was acting head for 3 years.
Okay.
And that was sort of a joint venture with our executive head.
Yep.
whom you would have met this morning. And so, yes, I saw it as a 3-year apprenticeship that I actually did under her wings. And it was very effective. CPD.
Good.
I had a little joke with her. I said even sitting in the car with her, listening to her on the phone was a CPD sometimes. So that was, and before that I was assistant head. And before assistant head, I was full-time class teacher. So
you've been in and around senior leadership for a while now?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been in and around senior leadership for a while. What was the motivator for you to get into headship? What motivated you to get in?
I absolutely never, ever aspired to be a head.
Okay.
Not for a second. Okay, literally did have no desire to. Firstly, teaching came to me as well. It's not something I sought out. I sort of found myself in teaching and I absolutely loved it. Headship, I found something quite scary because I think the pure weight of responsibility, I thought this would be really, really difficult. You had to be responsible for the whole school and all the children and all the teachers and all the parents. Whereas if you just manage your own class, you're responsible for everything that happens in there. And if you messed up, you you sort it out. Here, the buck stops with me.
You.
Okay, and I think I found that really daunting. So assistant head, when I was asked to do that, I thought this was my perfect role because I was out of the class in 2 days. I was teaching 3 days. But then I found actually that was very difficult to have the same dedication to the children.
Yep.
And at the back of your head, you're assistant head and you're planning the next instead of whatever it is you do. I almost felt guilty as a teacher because I wasn't solely preoccupied with the welfare of the class.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I hope they didn't feel it, but I did. So actually the balancing act I found really difficult. And mashallah, hat off to my deputy head who's done it for years, being deputy and teaching year 6. But for me, I found that really difficult because the head side of it does take over.
Yeah.
Because
becomes consuming.
It has to, in a way. So again, I think headship is maybe something like teaching. It's not something I sought out. It sort of found me, in a way. And then even then I was acting head. I said, okay, just to support the school. I've been here for a long time. Somebody needed to step up and step in. I said, fine, I can do this. But even I think after maybe 1 or 2 years of acting head, I said, I don't want to be head. Just carry on like this. But then I think, like in teaching, maybe there was one point then came out and said, okay, I think, inshallah, I'm probably ready for it. Yeah, but I still do miss teaching, I have to say, yeah.
I think it'd be really unusual if you didn't.
Yes.
I think it'd be really unusual because, at the heart and soul of every school leader is a fantastic teacher, I imagine. And I guess, more often than not, the reason why you probably end up in a headship position because you did a good job, mashallah. And if anything, you have the ability to now share and translate that to other people. So really, really well done, mashallah. Usually, headship can be a lonely place. It's a commonly used phrase. Who inspires you and keeps you motivated to do what you do?
I wouldn't be a head teacher in any other school.
Okay.
So it's the very essence of this school and my history with it and see it grow. I was here from the beginning.
So you've been here since?
1995.
Wow, mashallah.
A long time. I had periods in and out of the school, but I'm always joking. I said, you cannot leave here. It's a revolving door. You always come back. You know what happens? I was away for 3 years in the Emirates.
Okay.
Worked in a school there. And still ended back up at preps. And when anybody leaves, we always say, you'll be back. So I think I would not do this job anywhere else. Okay, I really have that connection with the school. I wanted to thrive. Like all the other schools, we might have our ups and downs. I've been through most of them with the school. So almost it's an opportunity to serve the community in a different way. Yeah. I think that's very much how I look at it.
So it's not necessarily an individual, but it's actually the the project and
the ethos of it, the project of it. And of course, mashallah, I've got really super SLT around me.
Alhamdulillah.
Got a deputy head teacher, and we've known each other. We knew each other through school, but we've known each other for a very long time now.
Wow.
And she's extremely supportive and caring.
I
will make sure that you don't overdo it and you not look well, go home. So it's that kind of care that you have.
It's probably
and
like
then another SLT member as well that you met upstairs. She just joined this year. And then of course I've got Mrs. M. And she's, I think, the perfect mentor, mashallah. Bless her. She's always at the end of the phone, because every head teacher should have somebody like her, really, because mashallah, she's got so much experience. I think there isn't this situation she's not come across.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I might face something, I think, oh my goodness, I don't know, should I do this or that? Or call her. She's always very calm. She's so generous as well, with her advice. So I think that gives a bit of reassurance as well. So that, you have that team and the staff. I mean, they're great, all of them.
Alhamdulillah. So that leads me on quite nicely, actually, that when we talk about challenges. Now, okay, you've been a head teacher for a couple of years, but you were acting for several years, and you've been in leadership for a number of years.
Acting 3 years.
Okay, acting 3 years, mashallah. What's the single moment that comes to mind when you think about a real challenge during headship? Is there a time where you thought, that's a really difficult situation I had to deal with?
There are. I mean,
does one in particular come to mind?
No. Generally, it could be, maybe a member of staff is unhappy with something, or actually saying no. It's quite difficult for me.
To who?
To a member of staff, for example. I don't know. Let's say somebody wants some time off, etc. Being able to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, because in your instinct, you want to please everybody, or at least that's my instinct. You want to please everyone. You want everybody to be happy. You don't want to upset anybody. Not your staff, not the children, not the parents. But again, you had a phrase before, I can't remember. Headship is a lonely place. Also, you can't please everybody. So I think that probably was a bit of a challenge for me, to be able to, at times, have to overrule somebody and say, well, sorry, can't, or, I'm the one who has the last word on it.
Yep.
Because I still think, well, I don't know, just like everybody else, but yeah.
Can you think of a highlight?
A highlight? There's loads of highlights.
But you're like every head teacher that says to me, there's loads of highlights. A highlight that really comes to mind, that just kind of like, there must have been a time when you must have gone home and just reflected and sat back on, or you're on your walks, and a thought comes to mind, and it gives you that feeling of it's been worth it.
Yeah, no, I did. It is worth it, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, it's probably when you walk around school and you go into classrooms and all the children know your name, but they come and run up to you when you're outside, Mrs. Ghafori, let me show you something. So I think it's those human interactions that, or a parent comes and is happy about something, or a member of staff. So I think it's that aspect.
Sure.
That I find fulfilling. It's personal, relationships that you have with people, or if you can support them, or if you can inspire them, if you have a new idea and can pull them on board with you. But I would say it's that kind of thing, yeah.
If you'd like to find out more about what Murabiyoon does, jump onto our website, murabiyoon.com. Is there a particular moment with a student that comes to mind?
As a head teacher?
Yeah. Even before that, is there a particular moment with a student where it's just memorable for you?
Yeah, as a teacher, I have a...
Do you want to share with us?
She must be in a university now, the young lady. She came to me, I was teaching it too, and she looked at me and she goes, "Miss, what does it feel like to be old?"
Wow.
So I said, and funny, it wasn't even that old then, not as old as I'm now. And then I said, it's, in a way it's the same. Inside you feel the same, but you look at yourself, you might have some grey hair, you might wrinkle. So she looked at me, and I realised she wasn't asking. I didn't give her the right answer. It was what she wanted to know. I said, okay, stay at lunchtime. We'll have a little chat. So I said, what exactly do you mean? What does it feel like to you? I said, you know when grown-ups, when they're sad, they don't tell you, they pretend they're not. So what does it feel like when you're old? Why can't you share that? And I've never forgotten it, because something must have happened at home. I don't know what brought her to this question. But I thought she was so, such a mature little thing she was, and so sensitive, mashallah. So that's something that stands out. Yeah.
Wow, what a question to ask.
It is, isn't it? Only year 2, 7 years old. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what? Like, I'm just really thinking about myself asking such a question when I was in year 2, the kind of thoughts I had. But no, mashallah, really, really nice. I mean, there's lots of challenges and there's lots of highlights, but there's some low points as well that you experience. Is there a particular low point that comes to mind?
I think it can be the workload, which the effect of this it has on your family. Mashallah, my children have grown up and they've blessed me with grandchildren, for whom I definitely don't have as much time as I wish I'd have. I think it's that sort of that you're mostly preoccupied with the job, and you don't have that. I don't have as much time to spend with them as I would wish to. But then at the same time, I notice there's no resentfulness within the family. I think, they see what I'm doing, they appreciate it. I think they feel a bit proud as well, so that's all right. But for myself, I would have liked a better work-life balance in that sense, but I generally don't think it can be achieved with this job. So I think if you're not up for it, then you can't. I don't think you can be a head then, because you can't be a part-time head either. You have to be here. Yeah. So I think I went into it with my eyes open, because I was acting head, so I knew what was coming. But I think otherwise you possibly can feel. And of course, mashallah, my kids have grown up. I think that is probably the hardest bit. I would think. Yeah.
It's really interesting, because a lot of the time people don't realize the sacrifices that people have to make as educators, but in particular educators in Islamic schools, because again, a common running joke is when you get introduced to somebody, it's never one job title.
Oh yes, I know.
It's always, and you're just waiting for it to stop, and you're just like, okay, how many more things can this one person do? Yeah. So, mashallah, some of the most dynamic people that are out there are in our schools, wearing so many different hats and scarves, and mashallah, amazing. It really is. And I think, it's a testament to all those people that are doing what they do and just keeping our schools going with all the skills that they have. And frankly, we probably overlook it. I tend to look at it as, in most cases, the people who are doing what they do in Muslim schools as leaders, they probably don't even look at it as work. Because it becomes life. It becomes part of your purpose of life. And obviously, I'm certain that there is a huge element, or a part of an element in most people's cases, that this is for a greater cause, and there's and hence why it's not considered as work. So
no, you're right, and I think not just heads, it's also staff.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I can really say every single member of staff who works here, it is a job, but it's much more than a job for them.
Certainly.
And I've got sort of a mixed group of staff. We've got staff who came from the state system who work here, and you can see the difference. We've got staff who qualified here as teachers and stayed.
Yeah.
So they're coming from
real
different
mix.
So they have different backgrounds, but I think everybody's heart is in it. And you feel you're doing something for the community. I think that's massive. I think, mashallah. Yeah.
If you weren't leading the school as the head, which other job would you want in the school?
In the school?
Yeah.
Well, there's only one job I've not done in the school, which is caretaker.
Okay.
So it probably won't be that. It's literally the only job I didn't do. Just for the record.
So
teaching, yes, I would go back to teaching.
Go back to teaching. Yeah, I thought you were going to say that because, mashallah, you have a real passion for, a sense for the classroom. And actually, alhamdulillah, I could see when just the little moments that we were walking around and the opportunities you got to interact with the kids, they seem very special to you. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah. So if you weren't working in school and you weren't an educator, what do you think you'd be doing?
If I hadn't gone into education?
Yeah.
Like I said, it sort of came to me. Well, I used to want to be an actress.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Mashallah.
And all kinds of things, yes. So, but I mean, teaching is actually very, very close to it.
Yep, that's what they say.
So it was a good swap. No, I didn't. Funny enough, there are teachers in my family, but it's not really a career that I had considered before. Sort of came because I speak a couple of languages I wasn't born and bred in the UK. So when I came, that's where I started working.
Sure.
And then from that, sort of slipped into teaching and then came here in the 1990s to help them for 6 months. And here you go.
Can I ask how many different languages you speak?
I used to speak quite fluently. I don't even like to say because I'm not as fluent as I used to be. So it was my mother tongue is Swiss German.
Okay.
So by default, I speak German as well because that's the spoken language.
Yep.
And then Italian, French, and English. Well, obviously English. I'm talking to you in English now. So alhamdulillah.
Do you ever get the opportunity to share some of that with some of the students here?
Oh yes, I used to teach French actually.
I was going to say.
Yes. Oh, that actually is a highlight as well. The first French lesson you teach in a year 1. The children are just falling over themselves laughing for the whole lesson until they get used to it. We have actually a French-speaking little boy in reception.
Oh, wow.
So he loves it. He calls me the French teacher.
The French teacher.
I speak to him in French in the morning. So, yes. Yeah, no, I had as well. We had, many years ago, we had a young boy. He was very interested in German. I don't know, his mum told me. So I bought him a couple of books and I spent a few lunch times with him. We did a bit of German. And he actually went on he's doing German A-levels now.
Oh, wow.
So he actually kept it up. It's not an easy language. So, mashallah, so yes.
That's really good.
Very interested in it, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Manchester Muslim Prep School.
Okay.
How long has it been? Is it 1990? It's coming up to...
Yes, in 1993 or 1990. I joined in 1995.
Okay.
I think they were in a different building before that.
Sure.
And then
coming up to 30 years.
Yes, yeah, no, mashallah, yes.
Inshallah. I'm looking forward to the 30-year celebration.
Inshallah.
In brief, what is Manchester Muslim Prep School? What is the vision and the aspiration of this school?
It's a good question. Because it's actually hanging here, our aim is to create a caring and warm atmosphere within pupils can develop their full potential and, teach in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah. And that is the vision from then, the 1990s. And it's still true. A lot of things have changed in a way, but that is just as I say, it's just like as the religion. It's something I think that is still at the forefront, that we try and have this lovely warm atmosphere, I hope, which you have experienced.
Yep.
And the children can develop as well as they can within their own abilities and fulfill their potential in a caring environment. And that care comes from comes partly from the religion and, the warmth of the staff and the commitment they have to the place. So the aim is really to give them maybe... I quite like the phrase roots and wings. I know it's not part of our mission statement, but I like it. It's really to give them roots in their religion, to come in and feel, they don't go home and are confused or have lots of questions, or why can't I do this, or why did we do this and not that. So we give them, I think, a grounding in which I think is very important. So they don't get confused. That can be maybe a later when they're a little bit older, and you can put things into perspective and give them better explanations in terms of other religions, etc. And I think we do that successfully. I think the children they do as well as they can do with their gifts or their talents, etc.
What makes you guys any different than to other Muslim primary schools or other primary schools in the area?
Other primary schools in the area, obviously that we are an Islamic faith school. Other Muslim schools, I don't know I've not visited them, but I know that from very early on in the 90s, we were always very forward-looking school. We used to take the children on trips that we had to convince the parents we want to go to see the Jewish Museum. No, they can't go and see it. So I think we've always been very forward-looking. Said, look, we want to grow young, confident British Muslims who are ready for the world and who are aware of what's going on around them. We don't, because otherwise, I think we would have to question our existence as a independent faith school. What is our role if it just, if they don't know, they can't make judgments on other things, or haven't got the good grounding in their own religion, they don't know anything else, what's going on in other schools, etc. So I think that is that, and the strength of the pupil voice within the school. Again, I think that is something that's really grown. We have a school council like all the other schools. We have school ambassadors like all the school, but I think it's really very, very vibrant, and the children are really aware of it, that they have those rights, and they're not worried, or they're not too shy to express their views or say, in fact, I said to our SMSE coordinator, you might have taken it a bit too far, because a young lad who got himself into a bit of trouble missed his playtime, and then he said, well, I've got the right to play. United Nations. So I said, all right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I know when we were talking around, you mentioned, and I said, just hold that thought, we'll talk about it. What is that all about? What is this initiative you've got running in the school?
UNICEF.
Yeah.
It's in lots of schools in Manchester, and maybe throughout the UK.
Okay,
it's a UNICEF project to make the children aware of their rights. Okay, we have right to education, we have the right, to food and nourishment, to a good environment, etc., etc. So it's raising awareness, and and to base their responsibilities as well on this awareness of those rights. So each class, for example, has a class charter. Okay, they agree upon the beginning of the year. Rules, what's the responsibilities, what the rights. So, for instance, everybody has the right to learn. What does that mean for me? That means I can't shout out, or I can't bother the person next to me, because then I'm infringing on his right to learn. Okay. So it goes from there. So I think it's a great way, really, for the children to learn, and to learn about other children's rights. Like I said, now we have Healthy Eating Week. We have Hadith of the week and the right of the fortnight. So we focus on one right. We discuss it in assemblies, discuss in the classroom what that means for everyone, and might have some activities around it. At the moment we're focusing on health, because it's Healthy Eating Week. So then you get an award for it. We had the Bronze Award. Then we were told maybe to involve the children a bit more in the curriculum and making decisions, and somebody comes around and checks what's happening, a little folders, they speak to our ambassadors. So then we got the Silver Award, and now inshallah I think from next year we're going to try and go for gold. But it gives a focus. And subhanAllah, I mean, children's rights, human rights, they're embedded in Islam. Yeah. So there's no difference. So just like with British values, they're all embedded in the religion as well. So it's a very good way, I think, to teach children.
Just on that point, I mean, as a school, as leading the school, I mean, what is your strategy, for want of a better word, for getting across your Islamic objectives and your values across the school and all the various activities that you do? How do you do that?
Well, first, the biggest input I think that everyone can have is modeling.
Okay, staff.
Right, that we model to the children through our interactions with each other and with them, what we like to see.
Sure.
Okay. We are. They have Quran has got a very important position in the curriculum. Starts from nursery, goes all the way up to year 6. Islamic studies, compared to other religions as well, starting in Key Stage 2, looking at the different religions, different celebrations. We have a reminder in the morning as part of the staff meeting, which is often, we have a staff briefing in the morning, 5 minutes, which often has a hadith or an ayah, which teachers then share with their class. I might discuss it. So there's always a focus. So it's just, I would say, it's lived Islam. We prepare little food baskets for the neighbors around Ramadan. We raise money. We do big fundraising projects for different charities. So I think it's all about, it's just built in into the whole day. We start, obviously, like all the other schools, I'm sure we start our days with the du'as, we end the day. We do all the prayers in school that fall into school time.
Alhamdulillah, that's good.
Alhamdulillah, from Key Stage 2.
Yeah.
So it's very tangible.
Is it how satisfying is that feeling to see a child coming in to nursery and working their way up to year 6 and seeing their Islamic development?
It's wonderful, and I think, and for the parents as well, they love it. And the nursery children go home and suddenly when they sneeze, they say Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? So it is, and the children, as when you speak to them as well, mashallah, I think in the past we had a lot of our children who left year 6, they might have gone to a state grammar and established Jummah prayer there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
Now, mashallah, at this time now it's more established in schools and, things have changed. Yeah. But, so that leaves, then we think, alhamdulillah, we've done we did what we could to sort of support them and give them that springboard, inshallah.
If you'd like to participate in the Murabiyoon Show, why not get in contact? It's as simple as going to our website, murabiyoon.com, and filling out this simple form.
I've said this on other podcasts before, but inshallah, maybe one day I'll actually do this. But if we were to get one or two of your students to come in and contribute, and we were to ask them, what is their school experience like, what would they say?
I like to believe that most of them will say, I like coming to school. And actually, it's part, when I spoke to you earlier, I said we're having our breakfast sometimes. We invite them to, it's called the head teacher and the executive head teacher breakfast. Yeah. And children's names get pulled randomly to attend the breakfast, which is like croissant and fruit and juice. It's very exciting. And we have questions for them. Now you could argue and say, well, maybe they won't really tell you what they think, but mashallah, a 7-year-old will tell you exactly what they think. So the feedback we get there from pupils, as always, they love coming to school. We ask them, what did you like about that? When you came back after the lockdown, or I see my friends, and my teacher was reading me a story, etc. So I think our children, on the whole, I think they're happy to come.
Good.
I asked the very same question to my own children who also attended this school.
Oh, okay.
Not so long ago, I asked my daughter, I won't tell your age, don't worry, Fatima. I said, if you think now back to the prep, what is it that you remember? When you ask her 20 years later, her son is here now. So she said she felt safe She felt safe and secure. Are we still? Yeah. This is what she fed back to me. And I thought that's what you want when you send your child to primary school. You want them to feel safe and secure. And looking back, see, that's, like, what's the saying? You can remember how something made you feel, but not what was said.
Yeah.
So I think she carried that feeling with her. So I think, alhamdulillah, then, we've achieved a lot of our aims. So I think the children would say, but please do come back. And I'll promise I will leave the room and you can ask them yourself. But, because as well, when if children weren't happy, in a primary school, you'll also hear them from the parents. They will come back to you and say, look, my child is not happy, because they want their child to be happy in school. That is maybe the most important thing for them. And then comes academics and, I don't know, etc., learning. Because if your child is not happy in school, they're not going to learn anything.
Yeah, of course.
That's, the biggest barrier to learning. So I would say if you have children who are really, deeply unhappy, I'm sure I would have parents, give me a nice little knock at the door and say, what's going on. But so I feel the children are, mashallah, happy here.
Alhamdulillah, that's really good to hear. I was just reflecting as you were just saying that when I had the opportunity to ask students myself in my time about what they want in the school and what the experience is like, what have you, and there's no limit. And mashallah, it's actually one of the most the highlights. Just listening to a young person be creative and just tell you, and you're just like gobsmacked, like, wow, didn't even think you noticed, or like, wow, okay, you know what, I didn't even think we could do that. So mashallah, it just kind of just teaches you that education and just can come from anywhere. Ideas, and sometimes it's about speaking to people that actually have are just looking at it from a different perspective. We're always looking at it as an educator, what do I want for you? But they're looking at it for what do I want for myself? And if you put yourself in different people's shoes, you see it differently. So alhamdulillah. Let's talk a little bit about the staff at the school. What's your team like?
The staff team?
Yep.
Fantastic, with a capital F. Yes, it's very close-knit. I think the building helps in that sense as well. The way everything is laid out, we're all very close to each other. So I think lockdown was a real challenge for everyone, because we ended up with 3 staff rooms instead of 1, because we had to split everybody up into their bubbles, as it was called at the time. So I think the staff, they're very supportive of each other and really want to be here. I don't think they have to drag themselves into work in the morning.
Kind of motivated to come in.
Yeah, so they are motivated to come in. No, definitely.
What do you guys ever have any downtime together as a team?
Yes, mental health and well-being. It's very big now, mashallah.
What do you tend to do?
So we've done different things. We did a quiz, fun quiz, or find out fun facts. Which member of staff can do this, can live.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it wasn't a quiz on like keeping children safe in education, was it?
Thank you. We usually do that in September.
Oh, okay. Yes. There you go, team. That's what you got to look forward to when you come in your inset day. Fun quiz.
They've been hiking. In the past we used to go walking together. We've got one of our members of the SLT. She's just done a little qualification to take a group of cyclers out.
Oh, wow.
So we've done baking contests, Bake Off.
Can you invite me to that one when you come? As a taster.
Yes,
not as a baker, but as a taster.
Yes. So yes, there is, we do like those things, alhamdulillah.
No,
in between. Yeah.
I mean, for you, how important, and it sounds like such an obvious question, but how important are the staff to you, to what you're trying to achieve in terms of the kind of aspirations that you have, the ambition that you have for the school and where you want it to be? How important what kind of staff do you need behind you to achieve that?
No, they're absolutely vital for it. You cannot doesn't matter what kind of head you are, you need a team. And obviously you've got your senior leadership team, you've got your subject leads. Everyone is a leader in their own area.
Yeah.
And everybody, alhamdulillah, has maybe expertise in different areas that not everybody else has.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that, recognizing it. Like you saw one of those posters outside that were produced in-house.
Yeah.
So, use the talents of your staff and their ideas that they bring to the table. I think, mashallah, everybody has some kind of responsibility. Like you said, in those small schools, it's usually a very long list of I do this and this and this and this, and I'm also a class teacher. So I think the staff are absolutely essential to it. We have a lot of staff turnover. That is just the nature of a primary school. I would have thought, where you have a lot of young people joining who then might go off and have a family or get married or move away, etc. So in that can be a challenge. You have a staff train them up, and maybe they're taking on an area and then they have to leave, no fault of their own. But that's just a fact of a life of let's say of a small Muslim school.
Yeah, and I mean, when we do start talking a little bit about Muslim schooling in general, actually, maybe that's something we can elaborate a little bit on. I just got one final question on this segment, actually. There's a good sizable Muslim community in Manchester, right? What's the general feeling that the community has towards this school? So if I was to ask a local Mancunian, as they call them, Muslim Mancunian, or I was to ask somebody at the local masjid, what kind of things would they say about the school? Where does it fit in the community?
Good question. To be honest, I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I know quite a few years ago we found that we are not as known in the community as we thought, and a lot of our new pupils who would come into the schools would have heard it, maybe were related to somebody who'd been here before, or family or extended family, etc., etc. I'd like to think that we have a good reputation in the community, and that they think, oh, mashallah, Manchester Muslim Prep School, how wonderful. But I can't answer that question. I don't know it's very difficult. So what does the community feel? I don't know. You ask one person and then somebody else, they might give you, differing opinions. Obviously, we are a fee-paying school. So that, unfortunately, means we're not open to everybody. And in terms of size as well of the building, etc., we have a waiting list. So not everybody who wishes to send their child possibly can do. And then some other people might, they might prefer mainstream education because they feel it's less, in terms of being integrated, etc., etc. But I can't answer the question of what the community would feel. I don't know. We'd have to check out Google reviews, possibly.
No problem. Let's talk a little bit about Muslim schools in general. Okay. Mashallah, across the country, there's over, I think it was 180 Muslim schools. And there's a real sizable portion up north. Okay. And, alhamdulillah, we aren't as nowhere near as firmly established as some of the other faith schools
I'm aware,
across the UK. But I mean, what is an Islamic school? What does it mean for somebody to go to an Islamic school or to work in an Islamic school or to support an Islamic school? What is an Islamic school? Because I'm telling you, I would say most people don't know.
Okay. Well, in Islamic school, you help to contribute to help shape our young generation, to become whatever they want to be later on, the leaders of the future, have a good grounding in their religion. I think the role of an Islamic school has changed over the years. And even at one point, I myself wasn't sure if there was a place for us still. There was a bit of a crisis in the middle. So I think at the beginning, in the 90s, there wasn't anything like it. Okay, and as I mentioned when we had a little chat before, part of my research at the time was, why do people send their children to an Islamic school? And it was because I don't want my child to experience what I had to experience, and in my school, and I was too shy and embarrassed to talk about our religion. So when this, and I'm sure, I mean, I can't talk on behalf of the trustees, the founders of these schools, who are still, mashallah, a very strong vision. I want to keep pushing it further and further. I'm sure that was at the root at the time. Say, look, let's give something to the Muslim community, which we don't have. And like you said, other faith schools, like the main faith in the country and other minority faiths, they already had well-established schools at the time. And maybe the Muslim community came a bit later. So I think that was its role then, to offer something that wasn't you couldn't be offered anywhere else.
Yep.
Then the state schools, I think they became a bit more open at one point. Okay, yeah, you can have your prayer room here. They are organized, iftars in Ramadan, in the mainstream schools. So then it's the question, are we still needed? Can they get that? Are they mixing more with different, are we alienating them from main society? You're going to be this little group here, this little Muslim school, etc. And then the world changed again, and I felt our role became to teach the children what Islam is and what it isn't.
Okay.
Because then suddenly lots of things were going on in the wider world. We're not going to go into politics. And there was, so now I feel really this is the need for us to be here. We teach our children about Islam, teach them critical thinking. Okay, within other subjects, even mashallah, our Islamic studies lessons have changed. The way they're presented, there's much more. How do you think they felt, and they lost the battle? What do you think, how do you felt the non-Muslims? How did they feel? We didn't teach it like this before we told them this was the battle and this is what happened. So again, I think to bring up now a group of young Muslims who really, who have those skills, have the critical thinking, they know they've learned about Islam from people who are really well informed and who studied their religion. So when they go out into the wild world, nobody can tell them, well, actually, this is what you need to do because that's what it says in the Quran. They can say, well, actually, don't take that ayah out of perspective. This is how, when it was revealed, then that's the background to it.
Yeah.
So I think I feel really, this is our role. And then obviously by extension, I'm not going to talk about the other schools, but we do have, as you've seen this morning, Islamic Grammar School for girls as well. And again there, it's very, very strong there, to develop these strong young Muslim ladies, inshallah, of the future. So I think I see that as our role, to let them be secure in their religion and know their place in society, and open doors for them. So inshallah that they can lead a good righteous life, inshallah.
Yeah, and alhamdulillah, and I really like the way that you broke down the purpose of Muslim schools changing, and given your journey that you've gone in with this school, you've probably seen that.
You've seen it totally.
And has that manifested in the curricula changing, the conversations you have with staff, with parents, the way you present yourself?
No, I think it definitely, I would say it definitely has changed. I think back to the days when you have 4 or 5 children, I think that's how we started, when the school was far too big for us and now it's far too small. So no, definitely, because society has changed generally, not just the Muslim school. You go to any school, it's completely different now. The way children are taught, the expectations, the way children behave. They're well equipped.
What do you think are some of the biggest challenges for Muslim schools going forward? Funding
is probably because you want to have our school as an independent school, to be as accessible to as many people as possible, which means we try to keep our fees low. On the other end, the fees are the income of the school.
Of course.
So if that's low, that means the teachers' salaries will be low.
Yeah.
Or lower than in the mainstream. So I think we're feeling it. These are definitely big challenges. We see when we're recruiting for more staff. That is a challenge you only want to say it's not about money, but money does doesn't matter.
Plays a big role.
Does matter. And I always joke, I say you have to be able to afford to work here.
That's a good way of
Because
putting it.
in a sense, and it depends on, you know, people's situation. If you're a sole breadwinner or etc., etc. I know we all like to do it fi sabilillah, but we also have to make a living. So I think that is a real challenge, because we want to keep it as open as possible to the community. And at the same hand, we need to look after our staff. So it's difficult. That is, I would say, that is a challenge. And then obviously that has a knock-on effect on resources, etc., etc. So, however, I've also heard people say, you know what, stop apologizing. You actually, what you're bringing out in the children is fantastic. You know, sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
They know, right? I might see the wallpaper is flaking or whatever, something needs to be repaired. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, what we do here and how we do it overrides, you know, all those shortcomings. So the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I think it's more about what we're doing.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the content and watching the show. If you enjoy what you've seen, please press subscribe. It'll really make a big difference.
Alhamdulillah.
What do you guys tend to do to bring in extra income when you need it occasionally? Any ideas you can share?
Yes, have a PTA.
Okay.
Parent Teacher Association. MashaAllah, they're wonderful. We've always had a very supportive, active PTA who are very passionate. Obviously, their children are in our schools, so their heart is in the place as well, and they want us to do well. They do a lot of fundraising projects.
Did they help with the playground, or was that just the children?
Yes. No, they did. It was the children who initiated it, who said we would like this.
Yep.
And then obviously we have PTA meetings.
Okay.
Maybe now a bit more frequently again. Obviously in lockdown that sort of fizzled out. So because I think the parents are very passionate about it, so are we, so are the children. So mashallah, they've raised money in the past for an iPad trolley. They've raised money for the playground. In the past, a whole group of them used to come in on a Saturday and do the garden at the back.
Oh wow!
Which I didn't have an opportunity to show you that. So they've been. So I think that is a good way of raising funds. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, it sounds like you've got a
and
really.
they're always very generous parents.
Yeah, real generous.
We always really humbled, by their generosity. Yeah.
So as we come to the end of the podcast, inshallah, many of your colleagues up and down the country will be listening.
Hope we didn't bore them too much.
No, I'm sure, mashallah, you've done a great job. What's the one single bit of advice that you may give somebody who's leading a Muslim school?
Just, I think, always remember what it is about. At the end of the day, we're trying to do something for the dunya, in the dunya, that will go with us into the akhirah. We're trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I wish Ofsted knew that it's not just about intent in Islam, mashallah. The niyyah gives you the reward, and it's not just about the impact. Okay? So I think we're here to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that tawakkul, I'm saying that to myself foremost, when things happen, have that, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we always say Allah always looks out for our school. We're very desperate, say we can't find a member of staff, and then suddenly somebody applies and everything starts back into the framing. So I think it's a privilege to be involved in it, and that we have the opportunity, because that is more than a job. Like I said, I know people, we have our families, etc. We've got responsibilities. But ultimately, that's what it is. It is more than a job. And it is about, being a servant of Allah and serving the community. I think that's the role. I don't think I could do the job otherwise, if that wasn't at the bottom of it, because it's not an easy job, let's say, to do. I remember, like with hijab, And so, if you're not convinced of it, you're not a Muslim, it would be very difficult to put that on your head every day.
Yep.
So anyway, it's very similar, I think. Like I said before, I couldn't do this job anywhere else, not knowing, because there is a big, inshallah, there's the bigger picture there, inshallah.
Inshallah, I pray that Allah accepts it from you and all the staff. Ameen. Jazakallah khair, sister, for your time. And Jazakallah khair for the fruits.
You're very welcome. You should
mashallah,
have some more strawberries.
I usually do this with a video, but because it's just audio, it means that I can talk and I can eat at the same time. So, alhamdulillah, I hope everybody's enjoyed the conversation as much as I have while I've been eating your lovely strawberries and grapes and what have you. But Jazakallah khair, sister.